Hello readers and writers, I'm MJ and today we're doing the mid-year freakout. I have been watching BookTube for years and have been watching so many booktubers do the mid-year freakout book tag, and this is the first year I get to join in and I am so happy. I am doing mine in July because my autistic brain could not let me film this video before the midpoint of the year was done, so the end of June, because that's when the year's half over. So I might be getting this out a little later than every YouTuber, but it probably will always be later because I don't think I can film a video before the middle of the year. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. So the first question is, what is the best book so far of 2023? And I have read some fantastic books in 2023, and so there's a lot of really, really good books that I will showcase, but none of them compare to one book that is going so far to be my favorite book. And the irony is this is the first book that I read in 2023, and it is the one that has not ever left me, and that is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Now, I've read other books by Adam Silvera and I think he's a great writer, but nothing has impacted me as much as this book. I put it off reading it for so long because I knew it was going to be sad, and it is, but it was impactfully sad and almost like life-altering sad. And I know that's dramatic, but that's honestly how I feel. Like, just the whole perspective that I came out with from this book, and this YA book, which is just not my thing, it definitely has impacted me as a person. So I've read some amazing books this year. This is the one that by far has impacted who I am the most. And yes, this is the Fairy Loot edition, and it is amazingly stunning. And the next question is, what is the best sequel that you have read in 2023? And I'm honestly surprised that I'm saying it is The Hero of Ages, and this is the third and last book in the first part of the Mistborn trilogy. And I have really enjoyed the Mistborn trilogy. It's been a great read. It's one I highly recommend if you want to get started into fantasy. Not because it's not complex, just because I think it's a little easier to follow all the characters and the magic, just the way it's presented. But the ending of this book blew my mind. Like, blew my mind. It was spectacular and potentially has the best ending to any series that I've ever read. So I know the next part of the Mistborn cycle is not as well revered, but I'm still really interested in picking it up. But yeah, The Hero of Ages, definitely the best sequel I've read so far this year. The third question is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. So this year I've been trying to read a lot of arcs, and so I'm reading a lot of books before they come out or as they're coming out. Definitely focusing on science fiction with some fantasy in there as well. And so a lot of the books that I really wanted to read I'm fairly current on, which I'm happy about. But for this one I'm going to say that one I want to pick up is Feed Them Silence, and this is almost like a self-shaming thing because I actually have an arc of this book and it kind of got missed in my reading cycle, and so I absolutely want to read this. I have it to read, it already released, and I haven't picked it up yet. So definitely Feed Them Silence, and definitely one that I'm hoping to get to soon. So the next question, the fourth question, is what is the most anticipated release for the end of this next year? And I haven't quite created my list of anticipated release for the last trimester of the year. So there's probably a lot more books that are coming that are just kind of like vaguely I'm aware of. But the one that will top them all is V. Schwab's new book, The Fragile Threads of Power. And I am very happy to say that I do have an e-arc for this. And again, this one's going to end up probably being read before some of the more currently releasing arcs, because I'm so excited for this book. I mean, is anyone not excited for it that is a V.E. Schwab fan? Because I know some of y'all just don't vibe with her, and that's cool. But honestly, I think she might be like my writing idol. I love her style, I love the diversity between her work, and I love the world that this book is going to be coming out of. So I'm very excited to pick it up. I also have a secret hope that with the release of this book in this series, that more special editions for the original trilogy are going to be released. And that may be like a false hope, but it's there. The next thing is the biggest disappointment so far this year. And this is a book that I have unhauled, and it is Predator's Gold. And I actually unhauled all of the series, except I realized that for some reason the Mortal Instruments was still sitting on my shelf, so that is got picked up to be unhauled as well, because I'm not keeping it when the rest of the series I have gotten rid of. I found Predator's Gold to be deeply problematic. I gave it like a 3-strike rule, and after the 3rd strike of just like harmful representation, I've kind of DNF'd the rest of the author's work, and it was extremely disappointing because I know this is like hugely popular, but there's so many other great authors and there's so much more diverse work being published that I just don't need to continue on with this series, and was very disappointed in the content that was in the book. So the biggest surprise is Infinite Miles, and this is an arc that I requested and was approved for, and so it was one I wanted to read, and I thought it was going to be this just little cute fan fiction of Doctor Who. What I did not realize is how much I would grow to absolutely love and adore this book and want to shout to everyone to read it from the rooftops. So this is definitely one of those books that's high on my list of favorites, even though it wasn't quite as emotionally impactful as They Both Die at the end. It's definitely going to be on my best of list. And yeah, it is a Doctor Who fan fiction book, but it's so much more than that. And it's like got amazing queer rep, and it's like without like the history of our past being a focus of the book, it still like acknowledges the problems of our history, and I absolutely respect that. But then it's also really good science fiction in the vein of Doctor Who kind of science fiction, but it has its own style, and it stands on its own. And it's just such an amazing read, and I absolutely love and adore this book, and I have not picked up a finished copy of it yet, but I absolutely plan to, because even then I think the cover is stunning, and as someone pointed out to me, it has the Arrow A's flag coming out of the car, so how can I not have that on my shelves? So yeah, this book was definitely the biggest surprise with how much that I adore it. So the next question is your favorite new author, and I have read some new authors this year that I really enjoy, most of which are indie authors. So I could have probably made a whole video about this as well, and maybe at the end of the year I will talk about the new authors that I read this year. I think that actually would be a really good video. But I think my favorite author so far this year that I have discovered is Dean Brin, and this is an indie author that is autistic and queer and writes vampire romance. At least that's the first one that I picked up of theirs. And if you've been following me at all, you know I don't deal with romance very well. Don't like it. So to have a male romance that has spice in it and is almost exclusively about their romance, and me walking away from it with, oh my gosh, I love this book so much, that says something right there. And it's called How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager. And then I picked up their another book of theirs, The Bloody Pearls, which I really enjoyed. Not quite as much as this one, but still really good read. And I picked up the sequel companion novel to How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager. I got halfway through it before my Kindle Unlimited subscription ended, so I'm definitely going to pick that up. But yeah, I know, I'm still waiting for Rainbow Crate to make a pretty edition of it, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm probably gonna just have to cave and pick it up before that happens, because it's taking way too long. But yeah, this is definitely an author that I plan on reading more of their work, more of what they've published. For an indie author, they're pretty big, which I definitely respect. And yeah, definitely my favorite author, new author of 2023. So question 8 is your newest fictional crush, and so if I would have answered this question last year, I would have said that my bookish crush would have been Rocky from Hail Mary. And if you've read that book, you'll know exactly how weird of a human I am, because Rocky is an alien, arachnoid-like creature, and I'm obsessed with him. So it's probably not like a romantic crush, but I'm a romantic, so it's never going to be a romantic crush. I just don't crush on people very often, and if I do, they're like always the weird, awkward person. And I didn't read about any character that is weird and awkward enough, except maybe a character I wrote. And so I guess maybe, I don't know if that's like a valid answer, but if there was any character, I would say it's Riley from The Immortal Part of Myself. It's not exactly have a crush on her, but at the same time, absolutely do, as a person. So I think she's amazingly awesome, and the fact that she came from my head shouldn't be considered narcissistic or anything. I'm just saying. All right, moving on. Newest favorite characters. I have 2 for this. The first one is Asuka from The Deep Sky. This is actually one of the books that I most recently read, and I really like this character because she's very complex, and she has this disconnect. It's told through her point of view, and there's this disconnect between how she sees herself and how the actual actions that are happening around her portray who she is. And I really like how this was done. I thought it was very well developed, but it also, I think, speaks true to a lot of us, that how we perceive ourselves is a lot more negative than we deserve. And that really resonated with me, and I thought it was extremely well written. I will have a vlog of this book up soon, even if it's not up yet. Actually, let me see. Yes, so this vlog should be available now, so I will put it up in the top tag so that you can go check it out. And the other character for this is Laverne from Nothing But the Rain, and this is another arc that I read. It's actually a novella arc, and Laverne is a retired doctor that lives in this small town that has water that is making them lose their memory. And there's just something about this character that just completely captured me. You know, she's just trying to survive and just keep it real. and has made, you know, some questionable decisions that I think as a reader most of us can respect. And it is one that I would highly recommend that you check out. It's definitely an author that I'm going to be keeping an eye on because I thought it was extremely well done. Specifically, like, the concept behind the story was really well done, but I really enjoyed the characterizations. It was excellent. So the next question is a book that made you cry at the end, and I know I shouldn't be doubling up on books, but this is the only book that has made me cry, and it still deserved the best book of the year, so it gets both spots. So they both die at the end. I was in tears. And it is the only book that has caused me to be in tears this year. I don't normally cry in books. I will occasionally, like this one. But again, in 6 months, it's only been this book, and there was a lot of tears for this book. All right, moving on. So the next question is books that made you happy, and I actually have 3 books for this, and these are books that made me happy because I really enjoyed reading them, and that's what makes me happy. They are all science fiction books, or science fiction-esque books, and they're all ones that I love the way they were written. I love that romance was at the center of their plots, and that they had really strong characters and great writing, and that's what makes me happy. So the first one is Poster Girl, and I know this has a lot of mixed reviews, and totally respect anyone that didn't love it, but I loved it. It's a 5-star book. Veronica Roth is definitely a favorite author of mine. I respect her works, especially her newer stuff, so much, and I'm so excited for what she has coming out next. And I adored Poster Girl. It made me extremely happy to read it. I'm not saying it's a happy book. It just made me happy to read it. The next is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and like, this wasn't a 5-star read for me. I think I rated like 4.5, so I wouldn't say the book itself was perfect, but reading it made me happy. And there's probably like a theme to this you will see, because I think the characters that I relate to most are ones where there's just characters that are different, maybe a little nerdy, like characters that have someone that are just slightly different, because I'm different as a human being, and so that's who I relate to. So I think sometimes people will not enjoy these books quite as much because, you know, they're not as quirky as I am, and that's awesome for them. But I am as quirky as you can get, and not everyone relates to that, and that's okay. But I hardcore related to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I know a lot of other people did too, and reading it made me extremely happy and nostalgic, and frustrated, and a lot of actually other emotions as well, but overall just really happy and comfortable. And the last book is Infinity Gate, and this is one that I read as an ARC that I haven't picked up a finished copy of it yet, but I absolutely adore this author. And this was another science fiction read that I just really enjoyed. And I wouldn't say it's a happy science fiction book, but it was just so good, and I enjoyed reading it and being trapped in this world so much that made me happy. So maybe my definition of what makes for a happy read is a lot different than yours, but there you go. Question 12 is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year, and I have bought a lot of beautiful books, mostly because I mostly only buy finished versions if they're special editions now, because I'm running short on shelf space. But the most beautiful books I bought this year are Brandon Sanderson's. And the first one that has arrived is Tress and the Emerald Sea, and this book is just gorgeous. It's got multiple colors inside. Look at the end caps. Green print! And then the print like changes color in this book because there's reasons, and if you haven't read it, I can't tell you why. But then there is illustrations that are both like, some are glossy and some are printed, are matte finished, and it's absolutely gorgeous, absolutely stunning, and I love having these on my shelf. And then the other one is The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. And again, this is just, it's such a gorgeous book. And I love that they look really good sitting next to each other, because even though they're not like together in a series, they are like related because they're all secret novels. But look at the artwork for this. I love that Sanderson let the artists just sign the books and just kind of go with it, and I respect that, and it turned out amazing. And I'm really excited to see the third book, which I should have soon, because I know it's going to look stunning as well. And even though, spoiler, it's not my favorite book of the year, the artwork in it, I just can't wait to see in full color because it is astounding. Alright, the 13th and last question is, what book do you need to read by the end of the year? And for this question, I'm going to do the 2 arcs that I have not read yet. And so the first one is Bang Bang Fortahestia, which I probably been saying wrong, and I honestly can't even remember what this one is about, but I am behind on reading it, so I need to pick it up. And the other is The Witch King, which I have started reading. I already have the beautiful edition of that I forgot to bring to show you, but I had it started reading it as an arc, and I put it down just because it was taking more time to read, which is a stupid reason to put a book down, but it happens. And I just want to pick it up again and finish it. So those are the 2 books that I definitely need to read before the end of the year. But there's a lot more books that I want to read, including more Brandon Sanderson, because this is the year of Sanderson. I'm trying to read a Brandon Sanderson book each month. So that means 6 more Brandon Sanderson books. I hope you enjoyed my mid-year Freak Out book tag. I'm so excited that I was able to do it for the very first time, and more excited that I get to keep doing this year after year, to have it as its whole collection, which will be awesome. As always, keep reading, keep writing, and until next time.